Welcome.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm so glad we're having this discussion on this lovely topic.
Introduction.
I know. How are you doing?
You gotta introduce yourself. You gotta introduce the name of the podcast. You gotta do the whole thing, right?
Okay, yes. So why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us where you're from in the States and all that.
Do you want me to look at you or do you want me to look at the camera?
No, look at me.
Oh, yeah, of course. All right. Well, my name is...
You're gonna do the whole time looking into the lens?
No, you gotta, I don't know. It's just fun. Anyways, I am Omar Moustafa Ghonim. I'm a first-generation Egyptian-American Muslim actor from Braintree, Massachusetts, where I grew up in the South Shore of Boston. Was born and raised there, and then I have just moved to LA officially about a year ago.
But you've been here before, right?
Yeah, I've lived here on and off for a couple of years.
Yeah, because I feel like you've been here longer than a year.
Yeah. No, I'm very comfortable around LA, but like this is the first lease that I've signed under my name that I've lived at.
Okay.
Yeah.
Congrats.
So like it's real now, you know? Thank you.
Yeah. Did you change your license plates?
No, it's too expensive.
I know. Same. It's been 2-3 years.
I moved here and I shipped my car out after like a month or two. I've gotten so many parking tickets.
For what?
Just
on the street?
So my neighborhood sucks because...
You know how to read a sign?
I do know how to read a sign. My neighborhood sucks, however, because people like hoard the street parking, and I didn't have a parking spot in my garage until like November. So I would get home from work or whatever I was doing at like 9 or 10 p.m. All the parking spots are taken. So I would like... And they parked so shittily where you can like have... Can I swear?
Go to town.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
They were parked so shittily where like there's enough space in front of them for half a car and enough space behind them for half a car, and like people wouldn't park accordingly. So I would just park in like the little bit in front of the red that I could fit. So I would always be a little in the red.
Is it every car doing that or just the fancy ones? Because they do that shit on purpose.
No, it's literally all of them.
That sucks.
Yeah, they're awful.
That's
and I've wanted to just like run through the streets with a megaphone and be like, do better.
You should do that. Oh, I should introduce myself. So my name is Ayse, as you know. I'm going to just look at you and say that.
Please
My name is Ayse. So I'm from New York. My parents are from Turkey. I was raised Muslim, which I'm still getting used to saying it with an S. I always said Muslim.
You also say it with like I don't know, like a rounded U. Like instead of mus, you say mus.
Yeah.
Mus is too American. You got to say Muslim.
Yeah, you're right about that.
You know what I mean? Because you got over Muslim. That's the first. You know what I mean? That's the first part.
Yeah.
Now you're saying Muslim as if it's 2 S's instead of 1.
Mus, yeah. That's how you say it in Turkish.
Potatoes.
In Turkish, it's Müslüman.
Okay.
So that's closer. It's like,
okay, that makes sense.
How do you say it in Arabic?
Muslim.
Okay.
Yeah.
The whole first portion is similar.
Yeah.
So anyway, I was raised that way, but as you know, I don't really practice anymore. I still will pray in the prayers that I was raised being taught that are in Arabic, because I have faith and I do like the Islamic prayers. I'm not like against them. I have found more resonational feelings with like esoteric teachings and Buddhism and laugh at me, I don't care. And astrology, I really like astrology. I like patterns, I like algorithms, and astrology really resonates with me, and it has since high school. Fuck off.
Listen, if there's a fourth wall, I'm gonna break it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, I just want to share that because I want to show that there are non-practicing us as well.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's not like every single one is like only marrying within their religion, because I don't like that when I hear that either, because I still identify as a Muslim. I think Turkish Muslim. See, that's like fucked.
Whatever floats your boat.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say
I'm just saving you because here's the thing. You're blessed that you can pass as white.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure we're going to get into that.
Oh, yes, we are.
So you got to be able to stand out when you're like talking about you know what I mean?
You're right.
You know what I mean? You got to finesse it. Because I literally saw a Instagram reel today where this guy was just like, guess where I'm from? And he was just like, where are you from? And he was like, it's two different countries. And he's just like, obviously, and there was like a British dude. He's like, obviously one is England. And he goes, yes. And then he's like, guess the other. And he like guessed for like 30 seconds. And then he was just like, are you from Iraq? And it was a white dude. And he just goes, yeah, my name's Omar. And he just starts like spitting off Arabic. And I was like, yeah, nice.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Because
Okay,
you know what I mean?
that's
Because that's like, you know what I mean? It's like a little weapon you got there, right?
Yeah, you're right about it. No, that really hit. That hit hard. Like I'm just looking out for you. That left an impact on me.
Good.
Yeah, it really did. Good. Thank you.
I'm here to make an impact.
I mean, looking out, and also it's like the truth. Like, and it's funny because I'm like thinking to myself, do I just say it the way I've heard people say it so that I not fit in with them? But it's like that code switching that you were like talking about earlier.
Yeah. But also for me, I think what's really important is I've met so many people because like for me, my kind of struggle of identity has been, decades, right? But one thing that I've always like held on to is when I meet another Arab or another Muslim, like as soon as I see them, I'm just like, my guy, my people. But then they'll be like, oh, I actually don't speak Arab. I'm like, what? Because I speak it and I've hid that part of myself for a decade of my life or plus whatever.
Wait, you meant they don't know how to speak it or they won't speak it?
No, they don't know how to speak it. Okay. Like they're like they're not, and it's just like, bro, that's all we got, man. Hold on to that shit. It's so important. Like so having like a sense of identity because we're all looking for our own identity is important. But like if your part of your identity is your culture and where you come from, you gotta have some of it. You gotta hold on to that, which is really important to me. Like me, I speak fluent Egyptian Arabic with my parents and like anybody who is Egyptian or Arab that I come across. But every time I talk to them, I'd be like, you sound a little American. But I'm like, I'm trying my best, but I'm still here. I'm still talking. I can still exchange. But like if I'm in Egypt for 2 weeks, I'm immersed. I'm in there. So it is a thing where it's like it's really important to hold on to whatever you can. Which I'm just trying to look out.
Well, I view the States as like this culture washing machine, and it will just so intensely strip whatever culture that you come from. And what's funny is,
you're damn right.
But you get assimilated into like this cultureless culture. Like, I'm sorry, this sounds offensive. Like this dry ass, boring ass, like bland chicken ass.
No seasoning.
Yeah, and I'm like...
Not even salt. Maybe some salt.
Salt and pepper. We could give them that.
Not too much pepper, though. Not too much pepper.
We sound fucked.
No, I talk like this all the time.
Okay.
I'm fully firm in putting colonizers in their place. What?
So anyway, okay. It's important to hang on to that culture as much as we can because what I realize is it's rich. There's flavor. And I was discussing this with a friend of mine who is Indian American and actually half Filipino as well. But I was telling him, I was like, growing up, I don't know if in your high school they would make jokes like this, but in mine they did a lot. And I come from New York. Like, we have everybody there, but people still got ragged on. It would be like, curry, you smell like curry. Ew, they smell like curry. And yeah, I feel like that joke is like across everywhere.
Yeah.
So, and in my mind, I'm like, that culture, I made, this is when I had the epiphany. I made chicken tikka masala at home by myself. And I was mixing up all the spices and I was like, there's so much flavor in this. Like, truly, it's like, I love food. And I pride myself in a strong palate. Like, I have a very strong palate. And I was like, it's a flavor explosion is how I felt. And I thought, these people have flavor. And that's what they got bullied about.
Yeah.
Because it's so foreign to have that richness.
Yeah.
I think with American culture, which it's like, what is American culture? Like, how would you even define it? Because it's a culture of cultures, which is, it's great to be in a non-monocultural society as well. But it's like, I don't know how to define it because the American culture itself is like bland as shit in my mind. But we're all here in a melting pot, which is, I think, beautiful. It's like, how do you reconcile that?
There's a lot to unpack there. First off, I would like to say, you would think that the British invaded all these countries looking for spice and shit, and then they would at least have something flavorful. But no, they wouldn't. They don't.
They just want money, power, land. Let's be real.
Jokes aside.
Free Palestine. Free Palestine.
Always.
Yeah.
I don't agree with this statement that America is a melting pot, because that's like, and that was like, I vividly remember that being taught in school. America's a melting pot. We welcome everybody. Everybody comes here and da-da-da-da-da. We get along. No, we don't. We are very, very, very
That's a good point.
Sharply separated.
Yeah.
And it shows almost always. Speaking of high school, just school in general, I was basically the only Arab, the only Muslim, the only sometimes person of color in the entire building sometimes, and like, I was just like, oh yeah, I'll fit in with you guys, but nobody ever made the effort to fit in with me. Mm-hmm. Like, nobody asked real questions. They would be like, oh, you're from Egypt. Isn't that just a desert? Isn't it all sand? That was a real question. Do you live in a pyramid is a real question. When you die, do you get mummified? Do you have a camel? All those questions were all I was asked, because none of them ever took the time to actually learn about my culture after ancient times. Because that's the only thing that is, taught. Like the same thing with Turkish culture. They're probably just like, oh yeah, like the Ottoman Empire and shit and the Turkish. You know what I mean?
What? Do you know what I would get asked every Thanksgiving? Are you gonna eat your people? Is that what you're having for dinner tonight? And I got asked that by my Mexican neighbors every year. So you're right. Yeah. Like, but I'm thinking now, I have Turkish friends, they would write on their Facebook every year, like, nope, I'm not going to eat my people this year. So I think it was a big question for us.
I would say you probably envisioned a melting pot because growing up in New York, what part of New York were you in?
Long Island, the city.
Okay. Because I was going to say, like, when I walk through New York, I see everyone.
Yeah.
I see everyone. That's beautiful. Because, like, obviously New York is, like, the single most crammed populace of people I've ever seen in my life. But, like, you get someone from everywhere. And so whenever I visit, I have an uncle in Brooklyn. So whenever I go visit him, I see all the Middle Eastern stores and restaurants. And I'm like, nice.
Yeah. And in Queens.
Whoa. Oh, Queens especially.
Yeah.
Astoria, like, just, yeah.
A lot of Turks, a lot of Irani folks, a lot of Middle Eastern.
I think it was last year, it was last year. I saw a headline that said, like, the mosques in Queens were playing the adhan, the call for prayer, for the first time there, like, out loud. Because in Muslim countries, they play it, there's... the
call to prayer?
Yes, there's the call to prayer from every mosque that's just, like, played over the loudspeaker for the entire, area. In Queens and Astoria, I saw a headline that was like, this Ramadan, they're allowing them to do it.
Wow.
Right.
I didn't even know about that.
Yeah, so it's like...
Holy shit.
Like, when you have a community that's significant, like, I imagine, like, places like Dearborn, Michigan, where, like, it's the Muslim headquarters of America or the Arab headquarters of America.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. They're
I've never been
up in there.
Really?
I haven't been yet, which I really want to go, but I think it's like 70%.
Wow.
Yeah. It's huge. It's really huge. I even saw there was like a reality show or like a kind of like documentary series of this high school football team that was predominantly Muslim. So when Ramadan fell during the football season, they switched their practices to evening practices to accommodate for the players. Like, that's beautiful.
See, like, we never had that growing up.
Because, like, you wouldn't have that conversation with an all white or, like, predominantly non ethnic, like, school, right? Like, my school, I played football during Ramadan, and the trainer just followed me around with an ice bucket waiting for me to drop. You know what I mean? Like, just to, make sure that I'm safe. And, like, everybody's like, why are you doing that, bro? Why? What's the point? I'm like, it's my faith. It's my culture. What was the question?
No, I'm like hoping we can get around to everything I want to talk about because there's so much. You triggered a thought that I wanted to share. It was something that's been like a heartbreaking thing growing up, like for even recently, right, with all the stuff going on in Palestine, like my Islamophobia trauma like really surfaced hard this last time around, because it's the first time it's happened since that has recycled since I moved out here.
Yeah.
And you know, you start seeing where certain friends stand and stuff like that. And what was so heartbreaking for me was that this has happened every time, but I'm just different now where I could see it more clearly. Like, none of my close, like, childhood friends from back home who are, like, the Italians or the Puerto Ricans or, like, not to name ethnicities, I mean my non-Muslim friends, reached out being like, I can imagine how triggering this is for you right now. And I know that's, like, such a critical line of thought, but I know when, like, for me, when I see, like, trans rights get, you know, let's say, threatened, one of my best friends is trans, like I'll usually text him right away and be like, hey, like, I know that's you're probably going through it a little bit right now. I just wanted to like let you know I'm there for you or whatever. Where I don't know, to me it's like such common sense that for that marginalized person that political issue would trigger so much shit. With them, like a lot of my home friends, it's not even a thought in their minds at like truly at the slightest. And I think they've wished me a happy Ramadan once because they saw it posted online. Like it's exactly what you said, where, and I feel weird saying this because I'm like, let me say the thing, you know, is it like you owe me that to look that up? But it's like, that's what would make it a melting pot. Like, back to your point, it's that willingness to be like, I have a friend who is, let's say, Indian. Let me just literally take a day to check out Wikipedia and get an idea that, oh, India has like 16 plus different dialects. That's why it's so hard for that country to unite, and like connecting dots like that, different religions, like, you know, so that's like a thing that I was like super triggered this time around because I was here, I was alone, I was really disappointed by some people, and I got into it with a few as well, which I normally don't do, but lately I'm like, the devil's been trying me, and I'm ready to fight these days.
Yes.
So I got into it with a few people too, who are no longer my friends.
It is very different this time around because it is so blatantly obvious.
Yeah.
From people's perspective, but also exactly what's going on. It's a genocide.
Yeah.
Like, it is brutal, like cleansing and wiping out of people, and it's just happening. And what the fact that they like have to like pull out their phones and be like, I'm a person, please don't kill me, and you know, drop
if they get the chance to,
you know what I mean, if they get the chance to, if their internet isn't blocked out, or if they have access, or if they're healthy enough to even communicate that, you know what I mean, like, it's the most humiliating thing I've ever seen is the way that Palestinians have been treated, and the way that they've had to like make a case for their existence, and it's miserable, and it's infuriating, and it feels like screaming into the nothingness.
Abyss.
You know what I mean? Like,
I feel that more now than in the beginning. In the beginning, I felt like things were picking up, and now that it's been like over 200 days, it's like, it's really tough. Yeah.
I think, again, one of the points I was making earlier, that melting pot thing, and I speak for Middle Eastern, you know, Muslim, you name it, we came here for the American dream. Same as every other culture, same as every other
immigrant story,
What we've overlooked and what I've learned in these past 200 days is how much we fought to fit in. Yeah. It wasn't about a melting pot, because a melting pot includes all parties melting together and coming together.
I didn't realize, by the way, you had like the acting repertoire that you did. And then I saw on your Instagram, I mean, like, are you hopeful for your career? Because I feel like you've done some.
I'm very hopeful.
Okay, because I feel like you've done some big things.
I truly, genuinely believe I'm on the precipice of becoming a household name.
Really?
Yes.
Do you want that?
Yeah.
Okay.
More than anything. I don't care about fame. I just want that to happen so that I can work. You know what I mean? Like, there's such 100%. A catch-22 in this dumb fucking industry where all these, like, scared investors are like, we need you to be an established name so that we can, like, trust you to be in this movie, even though you've been working for almost a decade and you know what you're doing.
It's harder even now.
It's even harder now because everything is so much more of a risk to them financially.
Yep.
But in order for me to become a name, I need to book the big parts.
Yeah.
But I won't book the big parts if I'm not a big name. And I'm not bad at what I do. I am so certain of that. Because I've been in the running for roles, and every time I get beat out by someone who's more famous, who looks just like me.
Oh my God.
It's happened to me over 5 times now in the last 2 years.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, no, there's a movie that just came out end of last year with Tommy Lee Jones, Jenna Ortega, Ben Foster. It's called Finest Kind. And it was an all right movie. But I literally went in and auditioned for the director and producer, and like they were like, good fucking shit, bro. And then I look at the trades, and I'm like, oh, this guy got it. And he was like the star of the new Lord of the Rings show on Amazon. And I was like, motherfucker, you got your shit. Let me get this.
So I was going to say, one of like my closest friends in LA ended up being a talent manager. And she was venting to me about this maybe a month ago. She was like, it's so tough for me to get my clients in now because you need a name even for the small roles. Yes. And the example that she used was Florence Pugh in Oppenheimer. She was like, normally that role's so small.
It'll go to anybody.
It would have went to not an A-lister. But even those roles are going to A-listers now.
Well, think about all the movies that have come out recently. Every single one is an ensemble cast. So I've learned that casting offices, when they encounter a new actor that comes across their radar, unless they're a perfect fit for like a part, they'll like test them by like auditioning them for one-liners and so and so and so and so. And kind of like building that like relationship with a casting office will then be like, oh, this role came across, you fucking immediately came into our brain. Like, we need you to audition for this. If not, we're going to pitch you for this. You know what I mean? But that takes however long it takes to do that.
This time you said something that also hit hard, that this time is different with the recycling. By recycling, I mean resurfacing, not recycling, of the conflict there. And
you can call it a genocide.
What's that?
You can call it a genocide.
Yeah.
I've had this thing like over the last 200 days. Every time I bring it up and I get nervous to bring it up around people, I go, with everything that's going on in the world, or like I'll be like, with what's going on in Palestine, what's going on in Gaza, and I'm like, genocide. Say the words.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's really hard too because that's how we're conditioned.
Yeah.
Like we've been conditioned to like hide.
So
hide,
deep.
Blend in. Like my dad, he didn't go. My dad's name is Moustafa, and he would be like, just call me Mo. Mo's ambiguous enough. Like a woman was just like, what's your accent? You sound Italian. He goes,
yeah.
He just nodded. You know what I mean? Like things like that, like those little things. So when the genocide began, obviously everybody started, protesting, and at the protests we wear our kufiyas, and my mom was like, please don't.
My mom too.
Please don't. I'm like, why? Like, this is who we are. This is what's happening, and it's reflective of us. This is like us, Especially like the non-white passing. Yeah. Like I go anywhere, people are like, you Dominican, Puerto Rican, what are you? Makes you black and white. And I'm like, no, I'm Egyptian. And it's really hard to not pass as it, but I don't know, I guess it's a silver lining. Like, I don't know, but
yeah.
As soon as people know where I'm from, it's like kind of changes things a little bit, changes the pace, right? But I'm lucky that I'm at this point in my life where I've worked on my identity and gotten comfortable with who I am and where I came from, because I'm not hiding from this, and I don't want to hide from this. I'm not afraid of this. And I feel like I have been my whole life.
Yeah.
You know? Like, I was 6 years old when 9/11 happened. 6 years old.
We don't know a world without Islamophobia.
No, we don't.
Apparently there was one. When I talk to my older Muslim friends, they're like, when it hits them that I was so young, you were so young, they'll be like, you didn't even know what it was like before. And I'm like, nope,
literally,
not in my lifetime.
Yeah,
You
like,
know?
I probably just gained consciousness when it happened, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, literally.
I remember I had just flown in from New York the night before. Wow. Because my family just got back from Egypt. And literally September 10th, I was in New York, and we caught like the last flight from New York to Boston. And then the next morning I wake up, and like, I would always miss like the first few days of school, just because like to my parents, it was like, look, this is the time we get with our families, like for them to go home, but as well for us to go to our actual home, like where we come from, our culture. So like they didn't care about being prompt. So I probably wasn't going to school anyways the next day of September 11th, but I woke up and I was like, I heard that school was canceled anyways, and I walked down the street to my next door neighbor, who was like my best friend at the time, Tyler, and I just see his family huddled around the TV in the kitchen. I just walk in and I just see him. I'm just like, what are you guys looking at? And I notice it and I just go, and I didn't know what to make of it. I'm 6 years old. I don't know.
Me too.
You know what I mean?
Yes, I know very well.
But then in the ensuing years, right, the wars start in Afghanistan,
Which
Iraq.
is also a genocide, arguably, yeah.
I notice behaviors. Like, I notice some kids are treating me differently. I'm noticing I'm making other people uncomfortable. Like, I notice the name calling starts to happen. I notice all these things, and I'm just like, I'm not that. My favorite word, the T word, terrorist.
Do you have...
The terrorist. You're freaking terrorist.
Yeah.
I'm like, dog, no.
Do you have any, like, specific memories you can call on?
Many.
Yeah. Is there anyone like that, just from any angle that you feel like is worth shedding light on?
From a psychological perspective, like, what it could only have done to me as like a kid, or just any kid in general. Like, I remember I was getting so frustrated by like how often it was happening, and like how much like I was like helpless. And like one time this kid, me and my friends, we sat at the same place. Me and my little 3 friends sat at the same place at lunch every single day. And I sit down and I see these 2 kids, they're sitting across from me. And I'm like, hey, do you guys mind just sliding down so that my friends could sit here? And he just looks up from his plate and he just goes, why don't you go blow up a building, you fucking terrorist? And I'm like, just instinctually I swing.
How old are you? And then?
It was middle school,
like
6 to 7.
They learn that from their parents.
100%.
100%. Like, they did not formulate that.
100%.
Yeah.
And I swing on him and I missed. And out of like the embarrassment, I just sat there and I just ate my lunch in silence. And I get to class and I'm fucking fuming. Like, I can't sit still. I'm shaking. The teacher goes, Omar, let's step outside for a minute. And I step outside and she goes, what's up? Like, are you okay? And I told her, I was like, I swung on him and I missed. And I'm not mad because of what he called me. I'm mad that I missed. And this is almost 20 years later that this is still with me. You know what I mean? Or 15 years later. You know what I'm saying? Like,
how can it not?
Like, how is that so powerful to me? Because it's not something anything that anyone should experience. But that was just every day for me, you know?
Yeah. Can you imagine somebody saying that in this adult age, though?
You know what I'm saying?
That would be
super hypersensitive,
crazy.
you know what I'm saying? Like, and then my response, if I did swing and connect, I'd be the problem. I'd be the crazy Muslim guy. Just
like the angry black woman.
Exactly.
They're put in a position to elicit such high levels of anger. And then if, that anger is it's a catch-22.
Yes. I have stories the world over. My brother told me that as soon as after 9/11, when the war started, his best friends jumped him. Ganged up on him. My dad told me how he accidentally locked himself out of his car and a police officer made him smash his own window to get his keys instead of actually just helping him. Like, so many of these stories. My sister's, my oldest sister, she wore a hijab in high school. Like, can't imagine what she went through. All I remember is the one that I saw up close. We were in the mall and some white dude just gets in her face. She goes, "You don't get hot under all that? Like, what is that? Why are you wearing that?" Like, just some dumb, ignorant shit. My poor mom. As soon as Trump got elected, I took my mom's phone and I was like, "You're sharing your location with me. I'm sharing mine with you. Anywhere you go, I know the Muslim ban, like all that thing." I was like, anything that happens, I will be there. Anybody fucks with you, I'm fucking with them. Because guess what? I'm scary now. You know what I mean? I'm not this dainty little boy who fucking cries when shit goes wrong anymore. I've got some beef.
The villain. You know
what I mean?
I've vilified.
Exactly. And so it's the assimilation that our parents went through as immigrants trying to blend in here. The validity of it is taking the higher road every time. Because we really don't want to. I never want to take the high road. But I've been trained to do it. It's in my DNA. That's valid because I'm not going to act like what you claim I am. I'm not going to act like that word, you know? But you fuck with me. You take a step too far, it's not going to be fun. We have to constantly check ourselves. Same way that black people in America have to constantly check themselves, check their behavior. And it's not spoken about because nobody bothers to ask. Same way with your friends. They don't know shit about Ramadan.
Yeah.
They don't know shit about Palestine because they're not asking. Because they don't want to know. Because they don't care. Because it doesn't fit into their safe little privileged world. Mm-hmm. Right? And I'm not vilifying everyone. But I'm saying the general accepted level of ignorance in the U.S.
is unfathomable. It's unbelievable. It's fucking that is one that makes me go, because it's like when that shit was popping off, when the genocide began 200 days ago, I had friends who are from Turkey who I was talking to who are here, and I was just about to go to Turkey, so I was talking to my family there. So I was talking to people who were from outside the States. And even those who I view as like, not politically ignorant, but like don't really care about politics, at the base, they knew about it. They knew the background. And they said to me like, "Oh, it's all America's bullshit colonization that ultimately led to this in Europe's, not just America." And I thought, like, you guys have concept around this, where my friends, some of my friends here, there's legitimately zero concept. It's like calculus to addition. Like, you know what it's just, it doesn't click. And I don't even want to put one as higher, which I do believe political consciousness and critical thinking is always going to be higher than the lack. But it's like, I'll put it more like this. It's like trying to fit a puzzle piece with several shapes into like this straighter puzzle piece. It just like, I can't even have a conversation with them about it because there's such a severe lack of knowledge that I don't even know where to start. I'd have to start all the way from the beginning. And that's the other thing that I feel like I'm so sick of doing, not just in this topic, truly, but explaining.
Is always having to like re-explain the lore of your existence. You know what I mean?
And then, oh my God. And then like this goes into mental health stuff. Like I have been an EMDR for a year. I struggle less now, but I have struggled so much with feelings, such profound feelings of isolation. Like it physically exhausts me talking about this. Like I already feel a headache. Such profound feelings of isolation where I wasn't suicidal, but I've ideated where I was like, would it be better if I die? I didn't have a plan. Like I feel very blessed. It never got there, but I would be like, I don't know how long I could put up the fight of like just being a human on this earth. And I'm like, okay, well, I intellectualized. So I would be like, let me try to study this and backtrack and see where it stems from. And a lot of it stems from that isolation. And a lot of that isolation stems from being around people who are so like ignorant essentially to anything going on outside the States. That was huge for me because I've been going to Turkey since I was 2.
Yeah.
And when I would go for months at a time.
Yeah, same. To Egypt.
Yeah, I had a feeling like you probably did that too. So it's like I would feel there is an entire part of me. And honestly, I don't know if it's just a part. I think it's like really all of me that they will never understand. And they probably don't care to study. And that lack of care isn't even like, oh, it's because I don't give a shit. It's because of the bubble that we are in. And unless there is an innate curiosity and innate critical thinking, I don't think that bubble gets broken as someone who is American, who has been here, who's for generations have been here. Why would they break it? You know, hopefully they break it. And I know those who have broken it, I look at them as angels. I'm like, you guys are the shit. Yeah. Because you really are in a position where you don't have to give a fuck. And you still do. And I have a different respect for people like that. Because you and I, we will always critically think because we were always put in the position where we had to. We were always on threat, you know, growing up.
Yeah, you had to consider 10 steps ahead of every action you took, you know?
So anyway, with the mental health stuff, I thought I had like borderline personality disorder because I didn't resonate with like a handful of the symptoms, but I did with another handful. But what I resonated mostly with was the high levels of agony, the bouts of emptiness, my relationships have been pretty stable for the most part, but there was other symptoms there. And I started with this therapist who finally, like, thank you, God. Like, finally, I have one who can conceptualize.
Did you finally get therapist? Ooh.
I wish someone told me that.
What a feeling. A good therapist who gets it and who gives you...
I wish they told me bad ones existed because I just thought because they're professional, I shouldn't question it.
This has nothing to do with anything we're talking about, but I had a therapist for like 3 weeks. And this dude, like the second to last session, he just straight up just goes, "Are you sure you're not doing this all for attention?" I go, "What?"
That is insane.
And I was like, I'm an actor. My career is for attention. I don't need to do this for attention. I'm suffering, buddy.
Yeah.
And the last session, he just goes, "What would you like to schedule?" And I just go, "I'll let you know." And then he emailed me like 2 days later, and he just goes, "If you don't schedule another appointment, I'm going to assume your case is closed." And I just go, "Bro, I think you need help, bro. I think you're not okay."
Wait, I have a bad therapist story too, but then I have to get back to what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I had like, oh my God, I'm exposing myself, but it's okay. I had like a fear of getting pregnant, and I was like, it was just like a phobia that I had. And she was like, "Have you ever been pregnant?" And I was like, "No." I can't believe this was an exchange with a therapist. This was my slowly eye-opening of like bad therapists exist. Mm-hmm. She goes, "Well, I have been. And I told my partner now if I was to ever get pregnant, I'm keeping it." And I was like, this is so not where...
It's an overshare there.
Well, and I was like kind of had a phobia a little bit. So it was like not conducive to have that discussion with a phobic person.
Yeah.
And I'm lucky that my best friend from childhood, who parents are also from Turkey, he's now a psychiatrist. At that time, he was in medical school still. Mm-hmm. But I told him about this interaction. And he was like, immediately send me her profile. And I did. And he was like, with her credentials, we don't even work with people of that credit at the hospitals because it's just bullshit. You have, think about it as like a weekend certification or stuff like that. And I was like, I didn't even know that. So here I was like bearing these like major issues that I have to someone who was so underqualified. And honestly, if it wasn't for Tanner, I probably would have stayed with her a little longer because
you just didn't know.
I didn't know. Anyway, okay. So back to like the EMDR stuff. the main point that I'm driving home is that the psychological effects that this othering has had, and again, like, I'm not even brown, and I wanted to tell you, my mom wanted to change my name. I don't know if I didn't share that with you. When I was in 6th grade, so it happened when I was in 1st grade. So this is how many years later? Still a conversation. She was like, your name is so Arabic sounding. I really think you should use your middle name so that you can get jobs and you don't get discriminated against. And I think back and I'm like, with how much of a people pleaser I ended up growing into, because, you know, it's 6th grade or 11, and I grew into a people pleaser into like my young adult life. I'm like, how did I fight her on that? I was like, no, like, this is my name.
Right, yeah.
I can't rename myself. So I didn't do that. My middle name in Turkish, it's pronounced Deniz. It actually means ocean, but it could be read as like Denise.
Oh, okay.
So she was like, it could be like Denise.
Denise.
And my sister's name is like, it's not Arabic. I think it's more rooted in the Turkish language. My name is a classic. Like, you know my name. Aisha is maybe how you say it. Yeah, hers isn't that. So she was like,
Aisha.
Fine. Yeah. Well, in Turkish,
Aisha.
It's Ayse.
Yeah, same thing.
But it's very Arabic sounding and stuff. So, and then, anyway, I'm like all over the place, but I thought of a moment when I was my first job on the books. I was working in Dunkin' Donuts, and we have a veteran discount. Did I tell you about this?
No, I just love
I don't know if I've told you.
No, Dunkin' Donuts is a hometown brand for me.
Yes, and it's not a thing in LA.
There's like 3 Dunkins.
There's no Dunkins.
And they don't call it donuts. They call it Dunkin', just plain.
That is shit.
Like them removing the donuts.
Why are they
felt
doing
like blasphemous. Because, you know, they want to be hip.
Everything is shorter.
That, and like they want to be like, we're not the donut place, we're the coffee place, but their coffee tastes like burnt piss water. So
yeah, their coffee's not that good.
But I mean,
their donuts aren't that good either. It's
none of
it's actually good. It's actually all shit. But it's so nostalgic. Like, even in New York, like, it's America doesn't run on Dunkin'. The East Coast runs on Dunkin'. LA runs on Starbucks, but we ain't going there.
Yeah.
So anywho, we had a veteran discount there, so I would always know when someone's a veteran, and this one would come in a lot. He was pretty kooky, but not too off the wall, and he was like, you know, I'm 14, so he was like, you know, we gotta...
Which, by the way, having a job at 14 is crazy talk.
How old were you when you started working?
No, I started working at 15, but I'm saying the fact that, like, it's a thing, I don't know, man. I feel like you should be a kid. I went to the nurse and we had this whole conversation not too long ago, me and my friends, how, like, the concept of child labor does not exist in an immigrant household. Like, my mom's been working since her single-digit ages, so at 14, 15, she's like, you a teen, you adult now. Yeah.
But I wanted my own money. Honestly, I think it stemmed from, like, my family had a lot of money issues, and I was like, I'm going to work the soonest that I can so I could feel that independence. And honestly, it's bled through to a lot of my life now. I feel like I see people struggle financially a lot in our age, and I think at least I got a hold on this when I was younger, because that struggle is fucking real. By struggle, I don't mean lack of money. I mean the mismanaging of finances is very real.
Yes.
Anyway, he says to me, we have to defeat the enemies. And I was like, there's no way.
Dude, they're just saying the enemies is nuts.
I said to myself, like, my 14, 15 tops year old brain, I was like, there's no way he's gonna say Muslim people.
Oh, he's gonna.
And he did.
Oh, I promise you he's gonna.
He was like, you know who? And I was like, 14, this one. I was like, I don't actually, with my little squeaky child voice. Yeah. He was like, the Muslims. And I was like, do I tell this man my background? Get into it? My manager was Turkish, and most of the people actually worked at that shop were Turkish or Pakistani.
Yeah.
So I was kind of with, like, my crew anyway, which I gotta say, I had so much homesickness about that when I moved here. I felt like I was around, like, so many more, like, Middle Eastern culture people, which is funny because there's a huge Persian community here, but they're Christian or Catholic for the most part, so I don't know if that's why I feel that homesickness. But anyway, I just found myself around a lot of, like, Middle Eastern and Muslim people back home, and I felt homesick about that moving here, even as someone who doesn't practice anymore, because it's still such a part of me, you know?
Yeah.
So I was like, do I tell this man my background, risk getting fired? I don't want to get fired. And I was like, he's off his rocker. Like, I don't really care about him. Or do I just, you know, be quiet? And I just was like, I'm not going to say anything. So, because it wasn't worth it to me. But it's like, these are the things that I was facing. Like, looking back, like, you're right. Like, I was a fucking kid. I wasn't in the later part of the teens. I was right in the middle.
Yeah, child.
Yeah, and it's, like, crazy looking. Like, I'm processing it right now. Where I'm like, I can't believe I was that young. Having to face the shit decisions like that, you know?
I'll do you one. Not better, because I'm not trying to one-up you. My first job, 7-Eleven. Breaking stereotypes, people.
Yeah, I didn't say it.
No, listen, it is. My jobs have been 7-Eleven, Uber driver, pizza delivery driver.
Done Uber, okay.
So literally just, I'm not helping my case for being so stereotypical. But I don't remember any blatant experiences when I worked at 7-Eleven, but I do remember the ignorance of people coming in and just assuming I don't speak English. So, like, people would walk in and be like, can I get a pack of Marlboro Reds? And I'd be like, yes. They would be like, Marlboro Reds. And I'm like...
Like you're deaf.
And I'm like, yes. Also, yeah, why? When someone doesn't speak the same language, why do we get louder?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
And I just go, yeah, dude. You can get them. And he goes, oh, thank God. Okay.
Dude.
And that was it was all the time. Because the people I worked with, they were immigrants. And so they had accents, but they spoke English. But like people they just walk in and like they see, especially when a person of color or an immigrant is working in a service job, any type of service job, like, you know, cashier, gas station, drive-through, restaurant, whatever it is, they instantly just assume you're dumb, you don't speak English, and they think that they're above you. When in fact, so many of them are like in school, like going to like great schools and learning about like engineering and learning about like really great things, but this is just how they survive, how they make their money. So it's fascinating to me just to watch the treatment of like that, because I grew up with that. I worked at a 7-Eleven for 5 years, and I was just like, I speak English.
It's so insane. And I still have heard it to this day, where I'll have like someone a lot older, for example, like let's say 20 years older than us, they'll be like, yeah, I called this guy. This is a real life thing that I called this guy Mohammed. I was so shocked. He spoke such good English. And I was like, what do I say to you? What do I say?
Yeah. But like that's the little bubble that they want.
100%. And again, I want to tell you something. That came from someone of color as well.
Oh, interesting.
So that I think is what has made me even more fucked up in the head. Oh my God, it's this. And then we're going to talk about how we hid, because I want to cut into that.
I was going to say, do you think that there's a competition between different types of immigrants where it's just like, I'm a better American than you are?
I'm going to tell you what I think it is. Because of 9/11 and it being like my backyard and arguably like so close to you guys as well, like in Massachusetts, I know for me, I couldn't even turn to other minorities because I was being shunned as well from other minorities.
Interesting.
And I think about that all the time, where I'm like, from my experience, like then any of my Black friends who, you know, didn't have like Islamic roots, they also were very phobic. So to my mind, it registered like if other marginalized people, who usually marginalized people band together, are also so phobic, I was like, who do I turn to? you know?
I feel like that might be a product of the time, though, because now I feel like...
It's not that
Now
anymore.
I feel like we're all banding together a little bit.
We are all banding. We're banding together very hard. My whole point in this conversation is the fact that this happened during our formative years.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think led to like a lot of like mental health issues for me. It's not like that now at all. Like truly, especially after COVID and all BLM and so many things surfaced, and we weren't working during COVID, so we really got the opportunity to like dive into more of what it's like to be like learning more.
Which I would have been much happier staying ignorant.
Yeah, but
it's like,
but you wouldn't, because you want to rise to truth.
I know.
Like that's a value of ours. You know, you're not wrong, because it's ugly stuff. Let's pivot to hiding. I want to talk about that. How did you hide? What did you say you were? How did you get by?
Oh boy, it's good times. I was. It's literally so many flashbacks. I'm seeing 3XL t-shirts, fake Timberlands, backwards fitted caps. I was black, 100%, when I was a kid. Like from 6th grade until honestly probably like 23, 24. So like literally my whole,
Black girl life.
I legit, so like I grew up in this town called Braintree in Massachusetts, South Shore, 20 minutes south of Boston. Which by the way, Boston is not like reminiscent of like the true Bostonian, because they're all like on the outskirts of that. Like Boston is a very like, there's a financial district downtown, then there's all the colleges, which is all like occupied by college students who come from out of state because they're good colleges. Anyways, so like my town is like very pure, like Massachusetts, like breed of people. And so...
Do you mean white?
I'm trying not to, turn this into a bashing fest. But no, my town was so white, so painfully white.
That really sucks.
We had a program in my...
At least I didn't have that.
We had a program in my high school called Metco, where they bust in minority students from Boston and like past Boston too. I think Malden was a town which is like an hour from Braintree with traffic. So like they would bust these kids, and these poor kids had to wake up at like 5 a.m. for school to start at like 7:30. But like they literally bust in the minority kids, which were mostly African American, Cape Verdean, I think maybe a couple of Asian students as well. But like I lived in Braintree, and I was the only Egyptian besides my siblings. But like my siblings, my sister is 2 years older than me. My other sister is 6 years older than me. And then my brother is 9 years older than me. So I only ever was with my sister Sarah in school. And like the way that it worked, like I was with her 6th grade, she was in 8th grade. Then I wasn't with her 7th and 8th grade. Then 9th grade, I had her in 11th grade. And then my junior year, she was already gone. So like I was pretty much by myself. Occasionally like 1 or 2 kids would pop in, but it was just me. And like I'd grown up with this core group of kids since kindergarten. So like I knew them. But as I saw the way the behaviors changed, the way that I was being treated, I just kind of like was like, I'm gonna hang with this crowd. Because every black kid and Cape Verdean kid was just like, are you one of us? You're one of us. And that was it.
Survival.
That was it. Mm-hmm. But like the acceptance and like the lack of hesitation to just be like, yeah, come. Cool, you're cool with us. And I would just hang out with them, and like I had adopted, like that was the culture I adopted, and I hid from my culture. And like it didn't help that the Egyptian Revolution happened, I think it was my junior year or senior year of high school, and I didn't go back for like a decade. So I missed out on all that as well. So it was like there's so many layers to it that I was just like, I lost my identity, and I hid so well in this black, I assumed identity, that's just what I was. And I was fine with it. And like, I listened to, specific music. I watched specific shows. I dressed a specific way. And it was crazy because if I told somebody that I was Egyptian and Muslim, I would get bashed for that. But then when I dressed the way that I hid and blended in, I was told I wasn't black enough. And then to the people who saw and they were like, oh, is he black? Oh, cool. N-word. Like they would immediately just start. They're like, whatever you are, we hate you. You know what I mean? Because Massachusetts is very, very racist.
Yeah.
But they hide it very well. So liberal, so welcoming and but like racist. Shout out Massachusetts. But that was the case, and that was the identity struggle I had for a really long time. And I think around like 2018 or 19 was when I finally started to strip it and be like, no, I'm Egyptian. Actually, my culture is actually beautiful, and my people are beautiful, and my language is beautiful, and my music is beautiful, and all of these things. And then it started to be like my religion is beautiful, because that was what I hid from the most. Because what happened was, where I grew up, I went to Saturday school at the mosque, and we would go to the mosque every Saturday night. They would have a dinner for the community, and like we would all gather. And like I had a lot of friends there that I grew up with, but I never felt like I fit in with them. And especially the more that I gravitated towards the black community that I grew up with, that started to ruffle feathers in the Muslim community that I grew up with. And they would be like, dude, you're acting black, you're this, you're that, you're this. So I was like, oh, I'm feeling distance and resistance from you guys, my own people. So I'm going to continue to distance myself from that and like not feel accepted by them and not feel welcomed by them. So it was such a dilemma where it was like, I'm not Muslim enough or Arab enough. I'm not black enough. I'm not white enough. I'm not anything else enough. What am I? And that was a crisis that I lived with for so long. So like, I can imagine it would affect my self-esteem, my self-image, my self-worth, my all of these things, And so it was just such a hard time to feel seen. And that's something I still struggle with all the time now, right? Totally. It's feeling seen, right? Because like...
we feel like we inherently cannot, and then experience shock when someone actually sees us. It's like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like you talk to like, and I imagine you saw this all the time. You talk to any Arab kid on the East Coast, like they're all hoopers and they all like listen to J. Cole and this and this and this. And like, it's like, yeah, you guys are acting that way too, bro. You know what I mean? Like, what's the difference, But what I experienced was that there was no community that was consistent enough and active enough. Like I didn't see these people every day. I wasn't around them every day. I feel like in a place like New York or New Jersey or Michigan, they're around each other every day. I had to find my way alone. And my parents sure didn't help. Because they were just like, we're going to go to work and you're going to go to school and we're going to do this.
Which is a whole nother conversation. It's like the immigrant. Like, that's why I really wanted to have this discussion with you. Because not only do we have immigrant parents, but we had to deal with all the 9/11 bullshit at such a young age. Like, we're not just kids of immigrants. Like, we are survivors of Islamophobia on top of that,
Totally.
I wanted to tell you the first time I ever felt anxious because I was around so many white people. I was 22 and I was in Massachusetts.
You're damn right.
I went to a brewery that's world renowned. What is the best fucking beer that you...
Isn't it Sam Adams?
No. No. It's not it's only sold there. It's not sold in any other stores. I think like only beer heads know. I was kind of a beer head at that time. I went to like school in Germany and I was really getting into beer. But
I wouldn't know about that.
Do you drink alcohol? Not at all. No. Okay. Yeah. I walked in with my friends who are also white.
Yeah.
But they're like lesbian as fuck. So I always felt safe around them. We walk in all together and I look around and I want to like start scratching my neck. Like I'm anxious. I'm like, and I'm like, why am I so on edge? And I was like, I've never in my life seen this many white people in one spot before. Oh, yeah. And it was like blonde, like not, it was like light features. You know what I mean? Like it was like proper white. And I thought, it really eye-opened for me. And then this is the other stuff that like drives the isolation. My friends didn't even bat an eye who I was with. So that's why I feel like I was like, felt even more lonely. Like little micro experiences like that made me feel like it's not possible for me to be seen or heard in this life. It's not possible for me to connect. Like, and that's what would drive someone to like suicidal ideation. It's like, I really wanted to break this down. So with this therapist I was with now, who actually is white, but she gets it. She fucking gets it. Like, she gets it so well that she's helped me name a lot of stuff and helped me understand multi-layer identities and what I have and name them. So I'm very grateful to her. Like, it doesn't end with, you know, whiteness, of course. Anyway, she was like, it makes perfect sense that you have ideations like this. And I'm like, well, if it makes perfect sense, that means I need the opposite of this. I need to feel connected. I need to feel seen. I need to feel heard. They keep telling me it's possible. Let me just like believe that and whatever. I'm so grateful. I'm on the other side of it now. Now I know what I need are other people who just understand multi-layer identities. And mostly it's people who are also multi-layer. Have that. But like now I know that I have been trying to pull water from rocks my entire life. I wasn't aware, you know. Now I'm aware, and now I know where like the wells are and where to go, and I feel so much more connected now. Yeah, it's so great. Like I never thought I'd be here having this discussion with you. Yeah. But I'm just unpacking it because I'm like, it stems from all of these experiences that we had. In the brewery, I walk in and I feel a panic and I look over to my two friends. There's not a thought in their mind. No. And then I feel disconnected from them, you know, in that moment.
I think I can relate to that feeling a lot.
I'm sure.
Is looking for someone to, you see me?
Yes.
Checking with me?
Yes.
No? Oh, shit.
Which I've heard a lot of Black people talk about.
It's
they
hard.
Always scan the room, try to find the next one and lock eyes.
Yeah. I forget which friend this was. I had a friend who he would always tell me, he'd be like, bro, you got a real, like, he's like, you got one of those like personalities, you know, that people always like check in with you. And I just go, no. That's just other ethnic people checking in with me. Because, you know, the nod is
this is a thing we do. Yeah.
The nod is this or is this. And every single time I walk by somebody else, like it happens. And I'm just like, yeah, we're just checking in with each other.
Like being like, yeah, like, is it good on your end?
Yeah. But I forget. Oh, God, I wish I could. Here's the thing, too. My memory is so trash lately. And like from my childhood, too. Like I don't remember much of it.
I don't think a lot of us remember a lot of it.
I blacked out the most of it.
I remember like in therapy, I'd be like, there's just chunks that are missing.
Yeah, my new therapist, they were like, well, our style is that we kind of like, we go back and we try to figure out where things came from. And I just go, I'm going to let you know right now. I'm going to let you know right now. I ain't got it. I don't remember none of it. I don't remember a goddamn thing. So good luck. If you can find some kind of EMDR hypnosis thing to get it out of me, then sure.
Wait, have you done EMDR?
Once. It was a horrible. So I was in college and I was taking psychology, and like my professor was so great and had such a great grasp that I was like, hey, like she told us, she was like, I am a therapist. And I was like, are you taking new patients? Can I be a patient? She just goes, I can't take students, conflict of interest. And I go, cool, whatever. She just goes, but do you have insurance? And I was like, at the time I was like, no, I don't have insurance. She just goes, well, I have a friend who is an unlicensed therapist who will take you for $50 a session. I go into this woman's office.
Good EMDR, for context, is about $200 a session. So
I go into this woman's office. Day one, I was having issues with the person I was seeing at the time, and I go in and I'm just trying to like hash it out. She just goes, you know what? I want to try EMDR. She puts it,
which is not the way.
That's not how it works that I've learned now. Yeah. But she puts some headphones on me and just does it back and forth. She does the sound, not the visual. Mm-hmm. And suddenly I'm bawling, crying, and I'm like just in a state.
It did work.
It worked.
Yeah,
it worked. And we're talking about it, and she's like, yeah, this is really good. And she was like taking notes, probably more about the EMDR than about what I was talking about. The last session, she told me Mercury was in retrograde. She told me to wait until like May 3rd to like fix things. And I literally just went, this was nice. I want to get the fuck out of here.
Moral of the story, there are bad therapists. Like, horrific. Look into their credentials. Make sure. Honestly, I know education gets so shit talked now. Make sure they're educated. It's fucking critical.
I think, and this can relate to everything we're talking about, I think you can't learn empathy, like genuine empathy.
You have to get your ass handed.
You have to get your ass handed to you. At least, I'd say at least 3 times. But yeah, like there's people who are just not gonna get it, and they're just gonna like stick to their guns. They're just shitty
professionals.
I'm saying all people in general. Like, if I can't relate to you or feel what you're going through, I'm just gonna stick to what I know, and that comes back to our cultures. I don't know shit about Ramadan. But, like, I know that you guys don't eat pork, so... or the TV says that you're all evil. Like, that's the lack of empathy where it's like, we're not going to bother to explore any deeper because we don't care to connect to you.
Or lack of curiosity, or lack of respect, lack of... Like, it's just a lack.
There's that line in Ted Lasso that I really enjoy. Be curious, not judgmental. And I love that quote because
that's God right there.
Literally, it pertains to everything. Mm-hmm. Like,
and it's not human nature. Human nature is more to judge.
Well,
to
like,
protect ourselves.
Yeah, we've all you're always afraid of what you don't know. You know, and you always
from
want
a survival standpoint. Your brain does that, yeah.
Like your guard goes up and you get defensive and you're immediately like, I need to attack this thing before it attacks me, instead of, what is this thing?
Mm-hmm. Give it a face.
Yeah.
Brene Brown would say that in some of her work.
Give it a name.
Like, from afar, it's so easy for us to like hate, but when we come closer and there's actually faces to these people, it's completely different.
Yeah. Yeah, like, dude, there's not a single Arab that I've met that isn't like, I will give you the clothes off my back, feed you, and then we'll have tea afterwards. And be jamming the whole time.
Love is so different.
You know what I mean? Like, it's
so rich.
It's funny because, like, even, like, Middle Easterners that I know that grew up in the U.S., like, I recently befriended this actress, and we were at a workshop together, and she's also Egyptian, and she was showing me her like jewelry, and I saw she had like an Eye of Horus ring. I go, I love that ring. She takes it off. She goes, it's yours. And I'm like,
that's
hey, no, I don't.
You compliment.
It's yours. Take it.
Yes.
And it becomes the only conflict 100%. We have is when you don't let me pay for you, and you don't take the things I give you, and you don't let me feed you.
Yeah, I was gonna say, or you don't eat the food that. Yeah.
Dude, my mom will.
What did I offer you when you came here?
You offer me the whole everything.
Yeah, but there's protein powder.
Yeah, you were like, you can have my protein mac and cheese. You can have my protein snack.
That's
you can have creatine. Creatine's not a meal. It's just a.
Yeah, but it's like a waker upper. I feel like it like wakes you up.
Oh yeah, I mean,
speaking of
ATP. No, I'm just kidding.
These are rolling, right?
These are rolling.
Okay, so
and we're talking about
like
creatine and ATP. But that's the case, but like nobody's taken the chance to get to know them. And like, I can't imagine what it was like being like a New York taxi driver as a Middle Easterner, you know, in the early 2000s. But like, I've gotten a small taste of it as a Uber driver in the 2010s. But like, people get in your car, take me to my destination, and then they get out and they don't ever like. There's no. I don't care to get to explore this. I don't care to ask you how you're doing. I don't care to ask where you're from and your identity and actually give a shit. But like, you are told one thing and that's all you know. And you don't bother to dig any deeper. Mm-hmm. And that's what it has been this whole time. Like the narrative of they're all terrorists. They're all blah, blah, blah. They're all Al-Qaeda. whatever the fuck, the spiel is like, have you sat down and had a conversation? I've seen a couple of videos go viral of like some Americans who are just like, I was very curious to get my own opinion on what's been going on in Gaza, just seeing Muslims as they are. So I picked up a Quran and I read it, and a few of them converted. They were like, actually, I read it and it was incredible.
Was common, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if you just took a moment, and I'm not telling people to, convert, like, you don't have to go that far, but
to just educate.
Just take a moment.
Yeah.
Because
these are real human lives you're affecting.
They're real human lives, but it trickles down into everything. Like, for me as an actor, like, I'm just breaking into this industry and like establishing myself, and there's no space for me. Like, I just did a lab with Warner Brothers last week, and it was literally the inaugural Middle Eastern, North African, Southwest Asian lab. Like, the first of its kind
ever
in 2024.
That's history. You could say you've been there.
I was like, but like, it is a thing where it's like, we're just scratching the surface now, and we've been around for how long, And like, trying to educate people of like, just the whole Jesus is black argument. Like, just like, he's not white. He's not like, there's so many things to cover, but we don't have to get into like that part. But I'm saying, and I don't know if I'm rambling, but like, if you just took a moment to ask those kids, so I was talking about the industry. What has been the number one like source material for movies and shows and stuff is the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq and the invasion of the Middle East and all these things and all these topics. We're viewed as so one-dimensional. So like, everybody who watches those movies and ingests that content is like, oh, that's what they are? Okay, cool. They're
true
sheep herders and camel riders and terrorists and refugees and victims and villains. Like, that's all they all are. But they don't understand, like, our culture is so rich and our history is so rich, and like, we're just cool fucking people.
Yeah, 100%. And we are people, you know?
But instead they'll be like, okay, we're gonna take this aspect, we're gonna take the hummus, we're gonna take the hookah and the shisha, and we're gonna take this part and this part, and then
I'm pretty sure that is the definition of cultural appropriation.
No, literally, that's what I'm saying. But I'm saying, like, they'll take the parts that they're cool with appropriating, cherry pick, and then they'll be like, we're not gonna dig any deeper.
I concur completely. Yes. I wanted to ask some questions to you.
Let's get it.
Oh, before we move on, I do want to share, I don't know why I really want to share specifically the identities that I would hide under as well.
Oh, yeah.
Can you guess by looking at me, like, what you would think?
I mean, I feel like you would just say white straight up. Or you would say, like, some sort of Latina.
So I've gotten that, but I would always say Italian.
That works too.
Everyone's Italian there, you know?
Yeah.
But, like,
Italian in New York is so easy to blend.
Yeah, exactly. Until my name is like so Arabic, and then they'd be like, what is that? That's the number one question, because my name is spelled Ayse.
Yeah,
it doesn't sound like how it looks.
I'm not gonna lie, when I first met you I was like, fuck, how do I say this?
Yeah, because in Turkish, when you put a line under the S, it makes a sh sound, and we don't say we say so my name is Ayse. That's it, you know? But so anyway, the conversation always rolls, because it's like, I never would have thought that by reading that. You know, I hear that all the time, and then it's like,
how many people call you Ace?
Siri calls me Ace all the time. Actually, the fucking Honda dealer here...
Oh, she's listening to you right now.
Now you want to listen? Now you want to work?
Oh, God.
The fucking Honda dealer here actually changed my name to Ice, I-C-E. They mail me all the time. It says Ayse Billi.
That could be a rap name right there.
I know.
I'm not going to lie.
I mean, I've assumed this Ice because Siri would make it sound like... Okay, it's not on. Ice. But anyway, yeah, I feel like I could hide very well until my name would become conversation. And then when I'm like, oh, sometimes I would say it's like of African origin and go that route, and that would be fine. And then, you know, now I'll be like, then I would be like, it's of Turkish origin, but it's of Arabic origin.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, and then they'd be like, well, what are you? And I would be like Turkish, and then they would know. So I feel you on like you know what's sad? It's actually a great filter of the garbage taking itself out of your life the moment they know who you are. But because we weren't accepted growing up and we have that part of us that has been dying for it, we still want to take it, even though it's conditional. Like, I have a friend who's diabetic, and he wouldn't share that easily with people because he has a type of diabetes that his kids wouldn't end up inheriting, type 1, I believe, not type 2. And he was telling me that he would be afraid to tell people he dated because, like, yada, yada. And I was like, don't you think that would just be the quicker way to, like, just funnel you to... And he was like, you're right. Yeah. But he was dying so much for that approval, too.
Yeah. Well, like, when I started acting, well, actually, no, literally my entire life, I never used my middle name. Like, my name is just ambiguous enough. Omar, and then in English, you say Ghonim.
Oh, yeah. Like, your middle name's a dead giveaway.
Exactly.
Like, my first name's a dead giveaway. Your middle name's a
right.
dead
So
giveaway.
now I use my middle name all the time, and like if I'm typing out like a form or something, like there won't be a box for a middle name, so I'll just write my first name as Omar Moustafa. You know? Did
you ever think we'd live these days where we would be like trying to wave our freak flag like at any chance we got?
No.
Me neither.
No,
I didn't think in my lifetime I would see people even fight for Palestinian lives. I didn't think I would ever experience that in my 20s. I didn't think I'd ever experience other minorities banding with us. I didn't think I'd experience people openly talking about Islamophobia in my lifetime. And I feel lucky that it happened in my 20s.
Yeah, it's funny that it's called Islamophobia because it's more of a hatred than a fear.
I mean, you're completely right about that. So I want to ask you, okay, how did you cope to deal with the Islamophobia growing up? Like, if you coped, did we cope? I just went really numb and felt nothing because I felt so othered.
I am ashamed to say that I leaned into it and I made jokes.
Oh,
my way of coping has always been humor.
You made jokes.
Yeah, I obviously would get so angry, but I would just laugh along with people. Like, there's an example, my sophomore year of high school, I played football, and it was September 11th. This was like 2010. And we were like running plays, and the head coach comes over to the huddle and is giving us the play. And he goes, and we had like a minute while like the other side was setting up. And the coach just goes, he goes, you guys know what day it is today, right? And everybody's like, what? He goes, you know what fucking day it is. And then he goes, just make sure everybody looks out for Omar. And I like, literally, it was like everybody just like went and turned to me. And I just go,
what would you do in that moment? Yeah, I would laugh it off. I would make a joke 100%.
And
damn,
that was the case most of the time. And then it became when I started like making Vine videos before I started acting. Like, I had a big following on Vine. I made Arab jokes and I made terrorist jokes and I did all the low hanging fruit jokes just to be like, see guys, I get it. I didn't know that at the time, but looking back, I was like, this is what will get people to get me. Because like every one of my Vines, I had an Egyptian flag in my room. So like it was always in the background. So people like knew that I was Egyptian. So like I would just make those jokes. I put on a thobe. I put on the headscarf. And I made all these Vines, which they're funny. But like at their root, it's not fucking okay. And it's like, it's almost like a self-hating thing, right? Mm-hmm. And I had seen a couple of comments of people being like, hey man, that's fucked up. And it didn't like register to me until like I got a little older and I go, oh, yeah. Yeah, like if I'm the one with the platform, why am I setting this example and making a fool of myself and putting myself even further down, right? So I completely just discarded that character, that aspect. But it was like inspired by a Key and Peele skit, you know?
I don't know the skit.
Oh, okay, I was gonna say we better watch Key and Peele though.
Oh, okay.
It was the one where like they're like it was these two Arab dudes and they just see all these women in their
I know what you're talking about.
Yes.
Is it like a fashion show?
No. There's just like two weird horny brown dudes and they're just like, look at that girl, she has a little ankle out. Oh, you can almost see the bridge of her nose because it's just covered with the eye slit. Like it was like that like, and it's a funny ass skit, but I'm just like, yo. And so I saw that and I was like, I'm gonna make a joke like that. And then I dressed up as that and everybody like was like, oh, we love when you dress up as that character. So I gave the character a name. His name was Habib. What was he? A terrorist. Like it was just so shitty and so low hanging.
Fascinating to hear.
It's insane. And I was like 18 years old at the time. Like I didn't know anything. I didn't know any better. But like as I became more like aware, I was just like, dog, no. And then the most blatant example, coasting right off of that one, my first ever acting coach. I was 21 years old. And he's like, look, part of acting is you need to understand your type. You need to know what you can be cast as, what you can work best as. Like, I see your look. Like, you have a very unique look. What are you? And I was like, I'm Egyptian. And he just lit up. This is like a older white man. He lights up. From Texas, by the way. He lights up and he just goes, that's perfect. They're making so many movies about war. You can be the terrorist. Not play, you can be. You know what I'm saying? He kept repeating it the whole class. And I literally just went, yeah.
Totally.
I just didn't know what to do.
When I was in 5th grade, I will never forget this. Again, this is 4 years after 9/11, right? Like this shit just always followed us around. And again, like I'm literally in New York. Anyway, I don't even remember.
Were you there when it happened? When not?
My dad is actually a New York City driver for 23 years. My dad was supposed to be there. I got signed out of school, and the number one thing I remember on 9/11 is being so confused why my dad was home on a weekday and not driving in Manhattan. He was a private chauffeur, so he would drive around bankers or like people who could afford that shit. But he was consistent with his people, and he was like, oh, blah, blah, blah. His meeting got canceled today, so I'm not working.
Weird. His meeting got canceled. What did he know? No, I'm fucking with you.
Dude, my brain didn't fucking
go there. You go straight tinfoil hat immediately.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah. So I got signed out of school, and I remember looking at the airplanes in the buildings not having any concept of this.
You like visually, you saw them?
Oh, yeah. No, on the TV.
Oh, I was about to say.
No, not them being hit. No.
Okay.
I can't see it from 30 miles away. But I just remember, my point was, I didn't have concept either, like what you were saying. And I just saw the airplanes in the buildings. And I was like, why are we all home? Like, yada, yada. We were that young. So in 5th grade, my teacher was talking about something. And I'm sitting all the way in the back. Mm. To this day, I think about writing a letter to the elementary school anonymously. Maybe I'll put my name on it. Why not? See, I'm less afraid now. Because when I first thought about this letter, I was like, I'm going to send it. The first time I thought about this letter was maybe like 5-6 years ago. Like when I first saw on me how fucked up this was. Yeah. He was teaching something. I don't remember. I wish I knew. But he was like, blah, blah, blah. It must have been religion related. He asks, is anyone Muslim in the class? And I raised my hand. Because to this day, I'm very truthful like that. Like, I just can't lie. Yeah. Everybody turns around. And one of my friends, who I was really tight with, she turned around. And she was kidding, but she was like, bad girl. And I'll never forget that moment. Girl. I come home from school, and I don't have a great relationship with my parents where we, like, tell each other about our days. Like, I'm sure, you have
even if you have a great relationship, like you can't, that's just not a thing you talk about when you're
that young.
With your immigrant parents.
Yeah, it's like, that's by great. This is what I mean by not great relationship. I feel like most of ours it's just strained. And even though the love is there, there's still a strained essence. I get home and my mom was like, how was school? And I was like, fine. That I always said that, good, no matter how bad I was feeling, good. I could have been dying on the inside. You were still going to hear good from me. Yeah. And my sister, who was 3 years younger than me, was like, today my teacher asked the class who is Muslim. And I raised my hand and I was the only one. And I was like, that happened to me in class today too. And I wouldn't have even shared it if she didn't. She seemed less affected, but I was like highly affected. I don't know if it's because she was younger. And I'm like, why was her teacher? Maybe it was 9/11 and that's why it was such a big topic that day. Because that's eerie. But I remember it not being 9/11. And that had me even more fucked up. Like, I can remember thinking back. I was like, why on a random day? How is it coincidental this much that we both got asked?
Yeah.
But like just that othering. How do you feel this affected you mental health wise? Like, if you can bring words to it, do you think it made you more anxious? Do you think it made you more, I don't know, like if you were to try to bring words to it?
What specifically?
Like all of this othering, all of this discrimination, essentially, how do you think what behaviors do you think you acquired, like due to being exposed to this so much?
I think I don't know, it's hard.
I can go. I feel that like I can't ask. I'm on the other side of this stuff, okay? So I'm going to speak in past tense, but I'm very recently on the other side of this stuff. I'm talking months, maybe 6 months. So long enough that it's consistent. Asking for help was like not a thing I was going to do.
True.
If I had to cry, no one was going to see it.
True.
What else? If there was an issue, immediate isolation, have to deal with it myself. Immediate shutting down of connection with people. They're not going to get it. They're not going to understand me. I would just shut it down right away.
Yeah.
I would say depression.
Oh,
sure.
Literally, yeah. My whole life. My whole life.
Yeah, very prevalent.
Yeah, and it's just that consistent lingering depression. Like, it's just always been there. Just because, like, it's just like you're just helpless, you know?
Learn helplessness. That's the other thing. Have you learned about learned helplessness? Okay. It's basically a nicer way to say, like, victim mentality. It's when it sucks to be in. I'm not speaking down on people in this mentality. I was stuck in it for my whole life. I just broke that programming. It's when you have been taught it's so heavily ingrained in you that you are helpless, that you just will almost be complicit in your situations because you have no hope that there's another option. You have no hope that it can get better. It's learned helplessness, whether you've seen your parents model it, whatever. Like, it would bleed into everything. Like, if I got a job that I didn't, like, not an acting job. Like, if I got a full-time gig that I didn't want, I would feel, but I needed, because I need money and benefits. Yeah. I would feel like there's nothing else I could do. I have to take this. Where now that I'm in my more healed, now I hate saying healed because I hear all the time now, but I'm more in, like, a healed mentality. I'm, like, able to actually be like, I'm in this job right now. Yeah. But there's no reason that I can't pivot from this and change and find another one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, a lot of things you spoke to, I relate. But yeah, no, I've just had a nonstop identity crisis since I was a kid. Yes,
that is the big one right there, is identity.
I've had a very strained relationship with religion because... that's like a different topic unrelated to that, but like just the mix of the identity crisis is like I can't openly be Muslim comfortably.
Who you are.
Who I am. I can't practice. Like, I think I remember when I was a kid, like praying in the classroom, like in the corner. I took a chair over and like prayed in the corner, and like people would be like waving their hand in my face, be like, "Why aren't you? Oh my, why aren't you?" Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Or like during Ramadan, like I'd be fasting, and kids would literally like chew and then stick their tongue out with their like chewed food and be like, "Oh, you're
like,
so
do you not
hungry."
Eat the whole month?
Yeah, like
That was
not
my
even
favorite
water
That was
is
my
the
favorite question. Yeah, but the whole month.
yeah the
straight.
whole month. Yeah, I'm like,
Question.
I just said sun up to sundown, you dingo. Like
Yeah.
no. My favorite question I got was, if you eat, do you just like blow up? Like that level of ignorance is, but yeah, identity crisis, faith crisis, learned helplessness or victimhood, honestly.
Yeah. Because we were victims. I'm not saying we weren't. We were victims to discrimination and all this other shit.
Like it happened, yeah.
It happened.
Yeah.
However, that mentality will tank you.
Totally.
There's no upswing to that. And that, once I learned that, it was like the click for me.
Well, like if you're always seeing yourself as a victim, like you're always waiting for someone else to help you with your problems.
You're waiting to be saved.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
I think I've waited to be saved my whole life until I moved out here alone. And that's when it really, a lot of this stuff I'm talking about sunk in very heavily. And I was like, even if somebody else saves me, I'm not really saved, because that's a house of cards, because it's built on the back of someone else. You have to save yourself. Thank you.
There's a house of cards built on someone else's back. Built on someone else's. Oh, that's funny.
You have to save yourself.
Well, like nobody's going to pull you out of it besides yourself.
Well, that's what will give you the actual foundation for when it comes up again.
But the issue with that is the foundation is rocky because like you've spent your whole life hiding who you actually are. So like the only way to save yourself.
The goal is to build it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the only way to save yourself is to literally start from scratch. Who am I?
Yeah. Oh my God. And that's what I was going to say to you too. Don't you feel like you're meeting yourself of who you really are like now? I'm like, oh my God, I actually like anime. Oh my God, I'm not cool with that. When I know for me, like if I'm going to be close to someone, like close, like either close friend, like fucking close friend, or a relationship, I have to be a priority to you. If you do not prioritize me, it's not going to work for me. It's going to trigger me. I like being prioritized, and I prioritize people. And I know for me now, that's when I have to bring out like the 10-foot pole. So keep them in my life, but at a distance. Like I didn't know these things about myself. My needs of like, I need exchanges like this. I can't just like go do a movie with you and then come home. Like I need to sit and actually speak. That's how I connect. You know what I mean? Yeah. I didn't know none of this stuff. I like pink. I didn't know this. I really like pink. I didn't know this about me.
Yeah.
Like all this crazy shit. Like I feel like I meet myself more and more every day.
I noticed one thing. I always argue with, and I've made dozens of new Arab friends and Muslim friends over the last couple of years, like since really sinking into my identity. But all of them will be like, oh, if you listen to Wigs, like the Egyptian artist, or if you listen to Saint Levant, or if you listen to this person or this person, I'm just like, no, I don't listen to Arabic music post 2010. And they go, the fuck, why? That's old shit. I'm just like, it's just what I like. And then I realized, I was like, I think I like it because it's when I last felt comfortable. Wow. Like when I was a kid in Egypt with the cassette tape in the radio on the rooftop of my building with my family celebrating whatever the occasion. Usually my birthday fell on like in the middle of like my visits to Egypt. Like I just stick with that because it's nostalgic and it makes me feel good and it makes me feel like myself. And like it makes me feel it brings a very specific type of happiness out.
Yeah, it's like a warmth.
It's such a warmth.
Yeah.
Like you put on some 90s or early 2000s Hakeem, it's game over. I'm jamming. I'm having a good time. But like people will be like, why won't you listen to them? I'm just like, I don't need to.
Wait, so you felt good through the 2010s?
No, I'm saying like, so the 2010s was the only time that I visited Egypt. So it was the only time that I like went to my roots.
To that, okay.
Yeah,
I got you.
Because like from 2010 till 2021, I didn't go back to Egypt.
Thanks for clarifying.
Yeah.
Okay.
But like, that's like the era of like I listened to this and it was safe and it was good and everything was fun. Obviously, probably started to taper off like the end of the 2000s because of what I was experiencing in middle school and high school, and even college too. I experienced a lot in college as well. Mm-hmm. And
oh right, that reminds me. I was gonna say like I didn't share like how I coped, and I think I hid so well. I didn't even have to do like any of the stuff that you like. Once that instance happened in like 5th grade, and I really saw. I learned fast. Once I learned like clearly that I was like the other, it honestly very rarely surfaced ever again after that. Like, I don't know, like, that I was a Muslim person. Like, I don't know if I just, like, put it down so low, the memories, but if someone asked me, like, how I coped, I actually don't have an answer. I think I just abandoned that identity so intensely.
Yeah.
Like, such intense abandonment.
Yeah.
And, like, I had shame around, like, an embarrassment around
shame.
my parents' culture even. Like, they have these heavy accents. Like, the Turkish accent's very, very heavy and it's not cute. And, like, you know what I mean? And, anyway, yeah, I just, looking back, it's like, it just hearing you say this stuff, I'm like, it's such a blur to me. It really, really is.
Yeah.
I don't know if we should just do a part 2. I feel like we could talk for like 5 other hours. I feel like we should end in something positive.
Nah, keep it negative. No, okay.
If you have, or I mean, on an upswing.
Yeah, I will say, I've never felt more myself than I have the last couple of years. I'm
so happy to hear that. I'm with you on that.
I'm very, very proud and grateful that I don't have to hide anymore and that I don't feel shameful anymore about who I am. And I've met so many amazing people on this same path, but as well, just reconnected with so many amazing people from my past and then from new people that I've met. And I'm so grateful for those connections because they're real and they're warm and they're people who get me. Or at least they're just people who share the same background and culture with me. So I fit in more than I have. Because like the closer I've gotten to my identity, the more I've opened up and learned about myself is it does separate you from your past versions of yourself. Like I'm not this gangster phase Omar who wishes he was Lil Wayne, who sags his pants and wears triple XL tees.
Which is so not your energy. Like, you're, like, meeting you, like, your energy is so, like, I don't feel like you have that, like, over the need to be tough showing or anything like that. Like, you look, you know, like, gritty or whatever, but, like, I could tell on the inside you're, like, a fucking mushy-ass bear. I see it. So it's funny to hear, like, that you had to be, like, that Lil Wayne.
Yeah, like, I just put up a front and, like, had to just, like, try and be something that I wasn't and, like, constantly be protecting myself or like having to like defend myself and be defensive.
How do you feel, or like what are the positives that this has made you who you are today and me as well? What are you grateful for in that?
I'm grateful for something I ran away from for so long was actually my superpower the whole time.
Isn't that crazy? Like that's bars.
Yeah, like a funny joke I like to make is that I only get hired in acting because I'm the token ethnically ambiguous guy. But like I am the ethnically ambiguous guy because I'm Egyptian and it's where I'm from, and I'm from Dunya, the mother of the world, Egypt. And I made a joke a couple of years ago. I was just like, shout out to all the people who made fun of me for being Arab because now white people are paying me to be Arab. You know what I mean? Like, it's like a joke, but it's like, I ran away from this thing and I was afraid of this thing and I hated this thing, but it was actually the best part of me. And I'm so grateful for that experience because it's made me love it this much more now. And I'm so much more secure in myself and unwavering in my identity that I'm not afraid. And that was the thing is I've had to face a lot of my fears to get to where I am now, whether it be faith, whether it be identity, whether it be being accepted or not accepted. And like now I'm just like, I don't give a fuck.
It's
about any of you.
It's forced you to find like that rock within you, which people could fucking feel that shit. Like I also have that rock, and people will say like it's so intimidating to be in your presence and stuff. And I never knew what they meant until I came across other people like that. I was like, I get it, because they'll call you out. Like you don't feel like you could fuck around with them. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Like. There's an insecurity that comes when you encounter somebody who is so secure in themselves, because they don't need anything from you. I don't need anything from you.
Yes. So how can you be like you're codependent, like anxious, attach yourself? Like I'm just generally speaking, if they don't need you. Needing is way more secure.
Like there's no desperation in who I am.
It's so fucking fascinating. Like, I want to say I feel grateful that I am able to, as isolating as this is, the flip of like being able to conceptualize like so much interconnectedness and patterns and connecting dots and, you know, that mind that is very divergent. It's made me like, I used to hate how I used to fight like my depth. I feel like that sounds like my dick is big problem. It's a real problem.
I'm so deep.
But no one wants to hear about it. That's the thing about the big dick problem. It's a real issue, but no one wants to hear about it. For me, I feel like I have fought my depth for so long because it would wear me out, you know? Like, because I couldn't find like other individuals at the drop of a hat that I could like go to that level of depth with. And I've met people deeper than me where I was like, I can't go. It's too much for me. But, you know, my main experience was feeling like I couldn't find like people that I could like kind of relish in that like deeper level with. And now I'm owning it because I'm like, the art I create, it's in there like creatively. When I travel, I'm going to Europe for over a month. I'm leaving May 3rd, you know? Sick. And like, I wouldn't have done this if I wasn't going to Turkey like regularly growing up. Like the first time I was on a plane, I was 2. I didn't realize that like people didn't do that. And then like they grow up not going on a flight and then they're so afraid to go on a flight or they don't have like travel is huge for me. And I'm so great. Like I have this lust for life essentially and the world and culture, and I want every drop of what I can get while I'm alive. And I don't think that would have happened for me if I didn't have immigrant parents, if I didn't go through the stuff that I went through. It's like we now have like this power within us, right? That like you probably don't come across on like the everyday person who like has that, I don't know what to call it right now other than power. But it came at just a really big cost. It's like have you ever heard of the hermetic law of rhythm? It states that however much a pendulum pulls right on Earth, where we are, it will compensate the same amount left. Sorry, I'm getting tired. It's like 10 o'clock.
Yeah, I'm getting... No.
Well, I'm gonna head out. However much you pull right, it'll compensate the same amount left. Yeah. So however much power or confidence, real confidence, not like the fake kind that I'm very good at. Self-esteem. We'll say self-esteem. Because I'm very confident, but my self-esteem was low. Now my self-esteem is high as well. However much high of that you see, please know that they know the equal opposite. And they've likely worked through the equal opposite. If you see someone who's super secure, very likely they were like highly insecure, like couldn't stand themselves insecure, you know?
One of my favorite groups of people is the previously very overweight person, because I was very overweight in high school and I was like pushing 300 pounds almost. And you always tried to look small.
Or
you
like
always tried to be,
shirt, like,
you always try to cover up the imperfections and just be small and be skinny, right? Those people grow up, either they grow into their bodies or they get in shape. And
Yep.
the level of confidence that they gain is nuts. Nuts. Because I used to be so insecure. And now I'm this version of myself I never thought I'd be.
And there's a humble.
And people see me so different. So
Hopefully.
they have such humility because
they were humiliated.
Because they were humiliated.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of my closest friends would come up to me every day and grab my gut and just jiggle it and be like, "What's up, bro?" I'm like, "That's not fun." But when I lost that, when I came into my own, it was like that person will always be in the rearview mirror. They'll always be with me. But I am so secure in who I am now because I went through that. Mm-hmm. Like I wouldn't be this if I wasn't that. Same thing with my cultural identity. If I wasn't called a terrorist every day at school, if I wasn't called the N-word every day at school, I would not be so secure in who I am now because I had to fight to be who I was.
It's a richness.
It's rich. Yeah, I like
so
those people.
rich.
I like talking to them. I want to know more about them. They're so much more interesting. It's so much more interesting to talk to somebody who's suffered and come out on the other side of it, a better person, a different person, than it is to be like, oh, it was just easy for you the whole time. Cool. What did you learn? Nothing? Great. Oh, it's still easy for you now? Everything's handed to you? Cool. Great. Fantastic. You know what I mean? Like there's no depth to that. There's nothing interesting about it. So,
totally.
So that's why I've always gravitated to people of color. That's why I've always gravitated to children of immigrants. That's why I've always looked, every time I walk into a room, just like, who looks like me? Every time I watch a movie, I'm like, who looks like me?
I now know to keep an eye out for people like that because I know automatically I will likely connect deeper with them.
Dude,
you know what I mean?
Literally, like, it doesn't even have to be a direct interaction. Like, I was in a class the other day, and it was me, and then there was one black dude in the class, and like we didn't even like directly talk to each other, but we would just check in with each other, like throw a look at each other, like that was it, like that was all we needed to be like these fucking white people. That was like that's literally the universal language. You know what I mean? And like again, this isn't a white bashing session, but like it's
okay.
You know what I mean? But like I gravitate towards those people because I know that they've suffered like me. So.
And it's safer because when someone suffered like you, they know the pain and they're less likely to cause that to you. Where when someone who hasn't suffered your way, they're likely, I think, we feel they're more likely to cause that pain because they don't know it.
Cause that pain, or when that pain arises, they don't have the fortitude
no tools, no concept, no nothing.
Yeah.
And then you're like, cool,
they abandon ship. Yeah.
I'm going to go. A bridge.
Right.
Just kidding. It's a joke. Just a joke. Just a joke. Yeah.
But legit, like, people in America, they see an immigrant or children of immigrants, and they think that because you're not fluent in English with a crystal clear American accent that you're dumb. They think that your country is poor and you don't have anything to offer, but they will wage war and genocide for your resources instead. They'll, you know, the dumb immigrant who doesn't speak perfect English, they know 2 languages, if not 3, if not 4.
And how many Americans do you know?
How many Americans do you know that can say gracias properly?
Or I don't think I've
or not say hummus as hummus.
Who's bilingual? I don't think I have one American friend who's bilingual. So that's where I feel grateful. Like,
because I'm rich, bro. Like, I've got so much.
I just watched the Bob Marley One Love movie, which I fucking liked. And at the end, they showed a clip of him. I was so emotional watching that because he really is in tune with the message, which is just love, truly. And he was like, he was fucking filthy rich because his albums did very well. Obviously, he's Bob Marley, but he was like, when people would ask him about the money, you would see not a harsh disgust in his face, but like, you know, when you read faces, disgust is when the facials get closer to each other. And I would see him exhibit slight disgust. And he was like, I am rich. I don't know why you guys keep asking that. Like, I am a rich man, it's irrelevant from the money. And to see that he was actually disgusted by that. I love money. I shit on money. I just mean that the way that people were equating it to him, that this is like the point of life, and it's not. And I just never, it really hit me where I was like, holy shit, I am rich. I felt it for the first time.
Look at like an American family versus a Middle Eastern family. Those kids aren't moving out till they're married and have their own house and are probably got a kid on the way, right? Like
Middle Eastern families,
like we're gonna live
except
with.
For me.
Well, for the most part, you know what I'm saying. Traditionally, I guess. Like you just live, like you just like stay at home and you just stay with the community and you stick together, versus like you turned 18, you're gonna pay rent to live in my house. You know what I mean? Like there's a division. There's a lack of
the capitalism's so ingrained too.
Like, but I'm saying like we are like yes, like we can have money, we can have these things, but like what we give a shit about is real. It's family. It's love. It's
that's why I think
integrity. So that's why I think it's beautiful.
Mental illness is so prevalent in the States is because we have put the emphasis of the dollar so in front of the human, and humans feel this.
Well, yeah. You go anywhere else, that's not the case.
Feels this.
Yeah. You go anywhere else, it's not the case.
We're in such a late stage capitalism era right now, and I remember I would feel like hella depressed too, just feeling like that, like feeling like a lack of community, and it's because it's so hyper individualistic, especially now. I believe we're in a state of rugged individualism societally,
which is why you got to stick with your people.
Yeah,
and on that note,
and prioritize community. Thank you so much for coming. For sure. This has been so awesome, and now the episode is over.
That's a wrap, folks. That's how you end an episode. That's how you start an episode. That's how you end an episode.
I'm not good at those parts.
You know, you could just do a good old fashioned ba-deep. That's all, folks. You could
I'm not fucking doing that. That ain't me.